I'm Philippe Matus, and I'm here with Stephen Cave. And what we're exploring is really a popular topic, immortality. If someone says, you know what, Stephen, I do want to live forever, and that's a noble pursuit, what do you have to say to them?
We, like all living things, want to live on. We want to project ourselves into the future. We have this will to live. And yet, unlike other living things, we have to live in the knowledge that this will is going to be thwarted, that we're going to die. And so we have to live with this sense of personal apocalypse, the worst thing that can possibly happen, will. Now, this is what it means to be mortal. And so I can fully understand that people strive to be immortal. On the one hand, on the other side of us, there are the animals who have the same will to live we do, but they don't have the awareness of death. And so in that sense, they are immortal. And on the other hand, we have the gods, at least in legend, who are immortal because they are immune from death. And in between, there is us, with this will to live and this knowledge of death. And that's a terrible position to be in. And that's why I think it's entirely understandable that someone should want to pursue immortality.
Kim Kardashian, as she starts, 20, 30 years from now, starts looking quite a bit older, is that going to bring that terror of death? Is that a soft reminder to people that's going to happen to them as well?
There is research that suggests that we don't like to see old people on TV because it reminds us of our own mortality.
I heard that actual practice samurais, they see themselves being cut down with a sword, decapitated, just stabbed in the most vicious way. Would you recommend that to just, someone like you or I?
This is something that soldiers do, I think, to help them, or samurai do, to help them face the possibility of violent death and to give them courage in battle. Now, most of us don't need that kind of courage most of the time. But on the other hand, I think we could profit from that sense that this day might be your last, with the possibility that it might not be. Right. So which means prioritize, do what you're passionate about, do what you care about, but don't do anything stupid. So if you hate your job, quit, but don't punch your boss on the way out.
Sure. We both enjoy a book by Ernest Becker called The Denial of Death. His outcome was at the end that whatever our illusion is, as long as it's sustainable, is the right choice. Do you think that's still relevant? Was he wrong?
Well, Ernest Becker was a very passionate thinker who uncovered a lot of ways in which our society is driven by these kind of immortality stories, and he saw almost all of them as actually negative and destructive. But I think he was too pessimistic because he thought we could not escape this fear. But actually, if we look through the history of thought, there are examples for people who have come to terms with this fear. But I think the people who expressed this best were the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers of Greece and Rome. And Epicurus, I think, was the first person who really understood the fact that death is non-existence, and it doesn't make sense to fear non-existence. As he said, when we are here, death is not, and then when death comes, we're already gone. Wittgenstein much later said something similar. Death is not an event in life, he said. We as living things can only know the moments that make up our life. The American novelist Susan Erbs says, millions of people long for immortality who don't know what to do on a Sunday afternoon. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Actually, it's the fear of death rather than the love of life often that's motivating us. If people complain they don't have enough time, why do they watch so much TV? It doesn't seem actually, when we look at the way people behave, that lack of time is the problem. On the contrary, actually, when you look at how much time we waste, that life is already too long, so long that we become complacent and we waste great swathes, so many hours. And in fact, being conscious of the fact that our time is limited is what makes us really value and appreciate the time that we have.
Well, Stephen, thank you for at least navigating us through how we can look at our temporal existence. In your book, Immortality, there are some bold statements. Do you think that these kinds of ideas that are contained are going to become popular and mainstream in maybe the next few decades?
Well, everybody already is pursuing some kind of immortality story, and there's a kind of conspiracy of silence around this. We culturally right now, we don't like to talk about death. I think we need to talk about death because only by talking about our mortality can we understand the lives we're leading and why we're leading them, the way we're leading them, and also only then can we really appreciate the time that we have.
Well, Stephen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Philippe. It was a pleasure.